Hey guys, details we have now for the BYD Seagull, which is called the Dolphin Surf in Europe, in Australia and New Zealand. It's going to be called the Atto 1 in China. It's called the Seagull. To be honest, most of the media have called it the Seagull for the last 2 years since it was released. There's been a whole lot of news stories on it, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and probably thousands, in fact, calling it the BYD Seagull. So it's a little confusing now that BYD have decided to call it the Atto 1. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking, and this is actually a pretty good car. It's going to be the cheapest electric car you can buy here in Australia, and I think in New Zealand as well, and the cheapest car you can buy in probably many countries across Europe as well that's electric. That has actually got more than 100 kilometers of range. There's cheaper EVs you can buy in Europe, but yeah, they have really small ranges and small batteries, and that's fine for their market segment. The Atto 1, it's essentially a stretched version of the BYD Seagull. It looks like a seagull, like not an actual seagull, of course, but it looks like a seagull, but it's a little bit longer than the Seagull in China. So there's going to be two different versions, an essential version and a premium version. And the difference is the essential version has less power and less range than the premium version. That's the main difference anyway. The approximate price of the BYD Atto 1 Essential is TBC. Well, it's actually 25,000 Australian dollars. So around about 15,000 US dollars without any subsidies, of course. The BYD Atto 1 Premium, that's going to be approximately $30,000, maybe 29,000 approximately. So that's about 19,000 US dollars. Drivetrains, what do they come with? Well, the base model, single motor, electric, front wheel drive, 65 kilowatt. So that's about 95 horsepower, 175 newton meters of torque, 30 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery, and it weighs 1,294 kilos. So that's about 2,800 pounds. 0 to 100, it's probably the slowest EV on the market, or it's certainly one of the slowest. 11 seconds, 0 to 100. I wouldn't personally be wanting to buy that one. The other one to me is an option, but this model not so much. I think it's a bit unsafe if it's that slow. The range is 220 kilometers WLTP, probably maybe about 130 miles on an EPA cycle. DC charge rate is 65 kilowatt. AC is pretty good at 11 kilowatt. The Atto 1 Premium, so the more expensive version, that's going to cost about $5,000 more, or about 3,000 US dollars more. That gets a bigger battery. It's a 43.2 kilowatt hour battery, also lithium iron phosphate, blade battery, obviously. 115 kilowatt for that one, front wheel drive, and that's about 150 horsepower. 220 newton meters of torque. It'll do 0 to 100 in 9 seconds. So I think that's completely acceptable. Yeah, to me, 11 seconds is, I don't recommend that. I think that if you're trying to merge into traffic, and that's just too slow. Anyhow, 1,390 kilograms for the Atto 1. That's the heavier version, the premium, meaning about 3,000 pounds. Efficiency is 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, so probably similar to my Xpeng G6 that I drive, and it has a range of 310 kilometers. EPA range would be probably about 230 or about 150 miles EPA. Charging, 11 kilowatt AC and 85 kilowatt DC. So it can charge at 20 kilowatt faster speeds than the base model. So yeah, I mean, it's a faster charging, has more power and torque, has a bigger battery. I think it's worth paying the extra 5,000 Australian dollars to get that version. How big is it? It's slightly bigger than a Toyota Yaris, but it's bigger on the inside than a Yaris because of how they have packaged it. Obviously, it has a very small bonnet, and it's more like a small MPV than a small hatchback in terms of dimensions. I guess it's in between the two, isn't it? But anyway, really good packaging. I think very, very smart the way BYD have made the original Dolphin. It's been changed now, the new Dolphin. It's going to look more like a Volkswagen Golf, but the original Dolphin and the Seagull. One of the big things I first mentioned years ago when they were released was I love the packaging. I think this is actually quite a good looking car as well. What do you guys think? Do you like the look of it? Let me know. my solar and batteries. I've got a 50 kilowatt hour battery here, and I've got a big solar array. So I pay $0 for electricity. That's including charging my electric car. Resync Solar is the company that I used. I'll put a link to them in the description below. So the dimensions, it's about 30 centimeters shorter than the BYD Dolphin. So interior space is probably going to be about 10% smaller than the BYD Dolphin. Not a huge difference, to be honest. 4 meters long, 3,990 millimeters. Width is 1,720 millimeters, and the height is 1,600 millimeters. Cargo capacity. It has more cargo space than a Toyota Corolla or a Mazda 3 at 308 litres. If you fold down the rear seats, it's got 1,037 litres of space. Servicing and warranty. BYD has a 6-year warranty, but it doesn't cover everything. It covers some things. You've got to have a look at the fine print on that one. When I bought my BYD Atto 3 a few years ago, I realized the warranty didn't cover a few things, but I think that's been changed now. I think BYD have responded to some critiques of the warranty, lots of critiques, lots of criticism, and I think most things are covered by the full 6-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty now. The battery, of course, same as pretty much everyone, 8 years and 160,000 kilometers for the battery. Servicing, don't know what it's going to be yet. Servicing costs will probably be similar to the BYD Dolphin. BYD servicing costs for the Dolphin are 12 months for 20,000 kilometers, about $180. I don't think you should have to service an EV every year or every 20,000 kilometers. The 7X, the Z7X that I've bought, that only needs to be serviced every 40,000 kilometers. Anyhow, 12 months, 20,000 kilometers, $180. 24 months, 40,000 kilometers, $370. 36 months, about $180 as well at 60,000 kilometers. 48 months, 80,000 kilometers, it's about $600. I'm not sure what they're going to do at that 4-year service that's going to justify $600. But that gives you an idea of the servicing costs. And I guess that's probably one of the things that some people still like more about Tesla versus BYD. You don't have to service your car. You don't have to pay the servicing costs, which really the servicing costs are more about the dealerships. The dealerships request it from the brands. I've heard all this, guys. If you don't believe me, trust me, I've been there when I've heard these conversations between the dealers and the brands, and the dealerships are just like, no, this is what we're charging, and we need to charge this. This is part of our business method. This is basically part of our business to have cars come in to be serviced, and that's otherwise we can't survive. So yeah, I guess you could think of it that way. You're helping businesses, dealership businesses, to continue to exist. But for some things, they're not really needed. And I find it hard to justify some of the high servicing costs, especially at the 3rd or 4th services with a lot of EVs. Anyway, safety. It hasn't done an ANCAP safety test, as in an Australian one, but it's done the European one, which is pretty much exactly the same as the Australian one, and it got 5 stars. So yeah, it's definitely a safe car. Standard safety equipment, right? Includes 6 airbags, adaptive cruise control, emergency braking, forward collision warning, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, intelligent cruise control, including lane centering, intelligent speed limit control, parking sensors, rear, not front, reversing camera, traffic sign recognition, tire pressure monitoring, and the premium version on the base model you don't get, but you do get these things on the premium version, 360-degree camera and parking sensors on the front. Standard equipment. Well, let's look at it. There's a fair bit of standard equipment. 15-inch steel wheels is on the base model. 15-inch steelies. Now, having 15-inch rims is totally fine. I think it makes sense in small cars. But steel ones, I'm not a fan of that. It's another reason not to get the base model. Auto headlights, they're halogen headlights, not LEDs. Daytime LED running lights, so it does get those. LED tail light bar, electrically adjustable heated side mirrors, rear windshield with privacy glass, faux leather multifunction steering wheel, 2-way adjustable steering column, 7-inch digital instrument panel, faux leather, 4-way manual adjustable front seats, 50-50 split folding rear seats, 10.1-inch infotainment. BYD's app suite includes karaoke, Amazon Books, YouTube, Disney+, 4-speaker audio, over-the-air software updates, and BYD does do those, 4G cloud services, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both wireless and USB, USB-A and USB-C ports, driving modes, eco, normal, sport, and snow. Don't drive one of these in the snow. Keyless entry and start. If you pay more for the premium, you're getting 16-inch alloy wheels, auto LED headlights, rain sensing wipers, electrically retractable side mirrors, one touch up and down driver's window with anti-pinch, rear doors with privacy glass, four-way adjustable steering column, six-way power driver's seat, four-way power passenger seat, heated front seats, illuminated makeup mirror, visor, that'll be good for the ladies there, wireless phone charger as well. Of course, that premium version also gets the bigger battery, more power, plus the 360-degree camera and the front sensors. So the premium version is getting a lot for the extra $5,000, which is what we estimate. Yeah, I think that's going to be the version that people will want to buy. The base model, to me, is not a car I'd want to own. I just wouldn't have any desire to drive that car. But the premium version, I think, sounds actually quite good. Colors, you can get green, white, black, and blue. So when is it launching? Well, mid-November. It's coming in, well, about 3 or 4 weeks' time to the Australian market. And in terms of charging speed, the charging will be approximately 30 to 80% in 22 minutes. I really dislike the 30 to 80% numbers. I don't think companies should be using them. I've said this 50 times. 10 to 80% should be the real number. And I'm going to guess 10 to 80% would be approximately about 30 minutes. Just not too bad. In addition to that, both versions will have vehicle to load. Both the base model and the premium both get vehicle to load, I believe about 3 kilowatt. Now, if you're wondering when this vehicle was first launched, it was quite a long time ago. It was actually April of 2023 in Shenzhen in China. So it's been around for, by the time it comes to the market in Australia, for 2.5 years. BYD's actually sold more than 1 million of these in the last 2.5 years. So they've sold a lot of them. Very, very popular car, particularly in China. And obviously in China, a lot of people buy smaller cars. But in Europe, Australia, and the United States, in fact, outside of China, not a lot of people buy these small cars. That you do get a fair few in. I mean, there's a lot of them sold in Japan and also in Southeast Asia. But outside of those places, small cars are really just not very popular. So even though I think it's going to be a really good car, I don't think it's going to sell all that big of a numbers, simply because of the fact that it's cheap, but it's not really cheap. It's not like you'd go, well, I'm going to buy this as a second car because it's such a good deal. It's a bargain. I don't think it's a bargain. I mean, to be honest, the Geely GM Xing Yuan in China for about $8,500 US, which have similar specs to this, and that works out at about 14,000 Australian dollars. So this is going to be, and the Seagull in China is about the same price, about 9,000 US. So it is a bit of a premium on top of the price that it costs in China. And I think that might also reduce the amount of demand for it. But you know what? It's going to be the cheapest EV affordable. I haven't personally driven, but I know a few journalists myself personally who highly recommend it. So I think it's definitely a good option. Guys, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Would you consider something like this? Would you actually consider your own child having one of these, maybe their first car? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.